part on my computer. Hello, 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 amigas and amigas. Welcome to Amiga Handle Your Shit podcast. And I'm excited today. I have a beautiful friend. Her name is Adriana Palomares. And she is known as La Mezcalera. And oh my God, I can't wait to dive really deep with that because girlfriend, she is also an attorney. And we want to hear everything about how the heck that happened from attorney to Mescalera. And she also is an author, which is amazing. I'm like, God, how do you find the time? How do you find the time, my love? So thank you so much, Adriana, for being here with us at Amiga Handle Your Shit podcast. Welcome.
Thank you, Jackie. I'm so excited to be here. I love your energy. I love the space that you have created. And I am just looking forward to having some fun. Too bad we don't have mezcal here.
We should have, you know what? We should have planned that. Darn it. Maybe we'll do a live.
Yes,
¿Sale?
we will. Let's do it. Yes.
All right, sale, vamos. Okay, muy bien. All right, my love. So, okay, amigas out there. So this beautiful soul that we have here in front of us, she's a, Latina, nació en Mexico, right, Adriana? But she grew up here in the States. So we need to dive really deep. Like, how did that happen? Because I mean, it takes some time to come and travel to the United States. So what happened? Please tell us, how did this happen for you?
I love to. So I was born, like you said, in Mexico. I'm from a very small town in Guanajuato named Valle de Santiago. And my father had been coming to the States as a bracero back in the 60s when the bracero program was enacted. And so he basically, since then, had been having a binational kind of life. Then he meets my mom, whatever, gets married, and then we are born in Mexico, the older 3 children. And in the late 80s, my parents decide we're going to migrate to the States because, the possibility for work is just so much greater than being in Mexico. My father brought us in the late 80s, and I was 7 years old at the time. And, I was just really thrilled to be with my dad and have my family together. And that's where my journey started in LA. We came to the States. We lived in a small neighborhood called Pacoima. It was predominantly Latino neighborhood, African-American back in the day. And that's where I was raised, in Pacoima.
You're definitely Angelina. Yes. Oh, I'm very familiar with Pacoima. So then, okay, so you come and you live in Pacoima. God, what's wrong with me?
It's Mezcal, Jackie.
So, okay, so you just started living there, and your dad was a bracero. So was he still working as a bracero, or was actually in the farm industry at that point?
No, by that point, so the bracero program ended in the late 60s. And by that point, my dad was actually working as a musician. He played in a norteño band. He played the bajo sexto. And he basically was the lead singer of his band. And that's what he was doing. He was working a 9 to 5 in factories, different factories. And then in the evenings, he would play in a norteño band. And that's how he was supporting us.
That is so cool. Now, are you also musically inclined? Hello? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Oh, what? Oh my God. I don't know what happened. I think something happened with the Wi-Fi.
It's okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, we're back on. We're back on.
We're back on. Yeah, no problem. It's okay. I have a team that does all this stuff and like they'll edit, so no problems. Okay. I left you. Your dad is musician. Okay. And so tell us, are you also a musician? I mean, girl, you do so many things, so I wouldn't put it past you.
I tried. I did try. I tried learning to play the trumpet early on. I was part of the marching band in high school, but I was terrible at it. I just honestly, I stopped. Even my teacher told me, maybe you should consider focusing on your education. And so that's what I did. I focused on becoming a good student and transferring to college, and that's where my focus went.
So, did you know that you were going to be an attorney? Or is that like, for me, when I was a little girl, I thought, oh, I'm going to be a fashion designer. And then I thought, oh, and I'll be a lawyer too. And oh my God. So, of
I,
course, fashion design didn't happen.
it could still happen. You never know. I never thought I'd be a mezcalera, but so no, I did not know. In my mind, I always wanted to be an astronaut and a writer. That was my goal, to be a writer and to be an astronaut. And then as I got older, I realized, okay, astronaut requires that I know how to do math, and I was not very good at math. But writing was always one of the things that just stuck to me, and I loved it, and I had a passion for it. So I ended up majoring in English because I knew I'd be reading a lot and writing, which was what I loved doing. And actually, when I was in community college, I went to community college for a couple years. I went to LA Valley College, and when I was there, a friend of mine, we were trying to decide majors because it was time for us to transfer to a 4-year. And I was trying to decide my major, and I was gonna go with English because that's just what I love doing. And he said, yes, great, go with English. But in my mind, I thought, what am I gonna do with this major? I don't want to teach. I don't want to just become a professor. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but in my mind, I just thought I want my life to be somewhat of a combination where I go and help my community and also write and also make good money, and kind of like a combination of the three. And my friend says to me, well, why don't you become an attorney? They write a lot, they help the community, and they make a lot of money. And I thought, oh, that's a great idea. I'm gonna look into it. And so, back then I was naive, wanted to save the world, wanted to really stand up for my community. And I thought, okay, I could do that and I'll also be doing a lot of writing. Little did I know that the writing was very different from the type of writing that I enjoy doing, which is creative writing. But anyway, that's where the idea stemmed from, like just growing up in Pacoima, seeing a lot of injustice and wanting to do something that would allow me to help my community, but also combine my passion for writing. And so that's where the idea was born. So I went ahead and applied myself, did a major in English, transferred to UCLA. And after UCLA, I started applying to law school and eventually did the whole process. You know how hard that is, did the whole process to get into law school. I didn't get admitted to any schools in LA, so I had to go out of state. And I ended up in Portland, Oregon at a very small private college called Lewis and Clark. And was there basically for 2.5 years. I couldn't finish the third year because I was just so depressed with all the rain. So I ended up coming back, finished at Southwestern Law School and graduated, took the California bar, and then finally became a lawyer.
Nice. So you became a lawyer in when? What year was that?
I got sworn in at the end of 2010. Took a few times to pass the bar.
Yeah.
So I got sworn in at the end of 2010.
Ah,
Got hired by a big firm at the beginning of 2011.
and so tell me about this big firm, because their demands are like freaking huge. You got to do all these billable hours and not have a life, even though you're making the money. But it's like in the end, it's like, okay, I'm only making $25 an hour.
Oh, that is. Yeah, it's really tough to be a first generation lawyer as it is. And then to get into a big firm, it's also really hard. I'm really grateful, for the experience because it did help me build a lot of character. So I'm always grateful for that, but it was very hard. I basically worked Monday through Sunday, 10 to 12-hour days. I did not have a life. I was just billing. I was at the time doing workers' compensation defense law. So basically, I was just defending big companies, corporations, and just making a lot of money, more money than I ever imagined I would make or that my parents ever made. But I was basically just living there. I didn't have a personal life. I forgot all about the creative writing, all the creativity that I had just kind of went on the back burner, and I focused on just, becoming the best lawyer I could be.
And I believe there was an aha moment in your life that took a turn. Like that was not for you, right?
Yes, yes, there was a moment where, I just found myself constantly feeling unmotivated, getting sick. I started having anxiety attacks. I started developing these breathing issues from, I don't even know what it was, but I just felt constantly under stress. And the most important thing for me was that I went to bed every night feeling like I hadn't really contributed to something good in the world. It didn't feel rewarding. My job as an attorney did not feel rewarding. And I felt like all this sacrifice that I had made in my life to get through law school, become a lawyer, work for a big firm, it just was not equal to happiness. It wasn't what I was looking for. And I felt terrible because I felt, there was a lot of a mixture of feelings. There was sadness, there was um, a feeling of regret. There was a feeling of guilt. I felt guilty for not feeling happy because I thought my parents would be happy with my salary. And yet here I am wanting something different. I wanted more. And it was a huge load of guilt on my shoulders because I didn't feel happy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and well, girl, you're talking to someone who has the similar experience. And I find that many amigas out there will stick it through, and they will run their bodies down, really, really, really down. And it's so important, amigas out there who are in this, feeling this anxiousness, who's feeling the sadness, feeling the guilt, feeling this load of bad energy, to do something about it. And if that means you need to pivot really big, do it.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Right, Adriana?
I agree. And it is really scary, Jackie, because we have all these cultural expectations and social expectations, especially being a woman, and it's really hard to just have that moment where you say, you know what, F this, I'm really gonna go find my happiness.
Hell yeah. Hell
So
yeah. Fuck it.
Yeah, it takes courage. It takes the fear is always gonna be there, but you just go with it. Even though when you're even being afraid, you go with the flow. So I know for me, the moment came when I finally decided I can't keep doing this. I was sick already. I was physically, not being able to breathe. I had breathing problems. I was diagnosed with asthma. I ended up in the hospital several times. And I just thought I need to go away. But at that time, I really was not, I was not healed spiritually. And all I thought I wanted to run away. I just thought I wanted to get out. And so I ended up booking a flight to Mexico City for the weekend, for a week, just to get out. And it was towards the end of 2014. I turned in my thousands of billable hours in, clocked out, and I took a flight to Mexico City. And I was like, I don't know, I just want to get away. And so
you're out in 5,000. I'm gone. Bye.
Yes, like, nobody bothered me. I clocked out. And so in Mexico City, I was introduced to Mezcal for the very first time. And I'm not gonna lie to you, when I first tried it, I thought, oh my gosh, this is not very good. And I wasn't impressed. But I was impressed with the person that introduced me to. So this man ended up becoming my partner. And so he was already involved in the world of mezcal. His family had been, involved for a few generations. And basically, I developed a relationship with him. Eventually, We fell in love, and I decided, you know what, I'm gonna give this a try. I'm gonna go back to Mexico and see what's out there for me. I'm so unhappy here. And I'm just gonna go find myself. That was my thought. I don't want to continue to practice. I was in love with this person. And in my mind, I always had wanted to live in Mexico anyway, because that's where I was from and I wanted to reconnect with my roots. So I thought, what a better opportunity. And so at the end of 2014, I basically went back, gave my 2-week notice, packed everything I owned into big luggages. I told my mom and my dad I was moving back to Mexico. And I told my boss I was quitting because I was moving back to Mexico. I told my friends, and everybody thought I was crazy, and I still went ahead and did it.
That's handling your shit, girl. Ooh, I love it. Oh my God. Yes. Okay, so more. Tell us more. Tell us more.
So anyway, so here I go. I took a flight, moved to Mexico, moved in with this guy that I had a relationship with long distance, who introduced me to Mezcal. And we lived together, and I basically just started helping him distributing a brand of mezcal that he was working with at that point. And when I first found out how mezcal is made, we went down to Oaxaca a few times, went to all the palenques, and when I realized that this is truly a labor of love, I thought, wow, and I started falling in love with it. And then obviously I learned how to drink it. I learned how it's made. I learned how long of a process it is, because it's still a very craft process. And I learned the history, the culture behind it. And it just felt like that reconnected me to my roots. It was a way that I just reconnected back to what that essence about Mexico that I longed for so long. And it also brought back just my creativity, being out there. I started writing again. I wrote poems, so I just felt, for the first time in many, many years, I just felt free, happy, and just motivated to learn something new. And that's how I started getting involved with Mezcal.
Wow. That is so beautiful. I mean, it really touches me because you left everything behind and you found love. You found love, and this is gorgeous. Okay, so now you're saying you learned how to make mezcal. So how do you learn how to make mezcal?
Okay, so I don't make it per se, but I learned the process. So basically, the process is it's a craft process, and one of the things that people always ask me, okay, what really is mezcal? Because people are not very familiar with it. They know tequila, but they don't know that mezcal is also one of the different spirits that Mexico produces. And so mezcal, unlike tequila, is made with different varieties of agave. Tequila can only be made with blue agave, but mezcal can be made with like up to 30 different varieties of agave, and you can mix as well. And also, mezcal is made in a very craft process. So basically, just briefly, I'm going to tell you, the agave basically takes different years to mature. The most common type of mezcal you'll see out there right now, it's an espadin. And the most common, the reason why this is most common is because the espadin agave takes about 5 to 7 years to mature. So it's quick per se, compared to, for instance, a wild agave that may take 18 to 20 years to mature. So that's why espadin is used more often. So basically, everything is craft from the 7 years that it takes to grow the agave, to harvesting it, to cutting off the pencas, carrying the big piñas to the palenque. And so what happens is they grab the big piñas, they cut them into pieces, and they cook them depending on the region in Mexico. So there are different processes. In Oaxaca, for instance, they have a comic-shaped underground oven where they throw the piñas in there, they cover it with volcanic rock and dirt, and they cook it underground, kind of like when you're making birria.
Mm-hmm.
So very similar.
Yes, that just made me think of that too.
Yeah. So it's very similar to that. So the piñas are cooked underground. If you move to central Mexico, the process is a little different. They actually use it's It's called, it's basically an oven that looks like a room. And you just throw all the piñas in there, close the doors and the windows, and you just leave a vent at the top so the smoke can come out. So you're also cooking it in a huge oven that kind of looks like a house, basically, or like a room, like any room. And so then after the piñas are cooked, they take them out and they grind them. They take them to the molienda. And in the old ways, they used to use a horse or a donkey to pull a big rock called a taona, which is what grinds the piñas. And that grinding process takes several days. And after that piña is basically grinded, then you take it into fermentation. And the fermentation is done naturally. There's no additives poured into the piña, and it's fermented in usually wooden barrels. And it's fermented for several days. And then after the fermentation, basically you take all that liquid that remains and then you distill it. And the distillation process also varies from region to region. And there's different kinds, like the ancestral distillation refers to basically distilling the liquid in clay pots, whereas the craft process is distilled in a copper alambique. And so and some people get creative. They even use other methods like cow skin. It really depends on the region. So it's a very the processes differ, and it's also craft. And so that's what makes it very different from tequila, where everything is for the most part industrialized because of the high demand for tequila. So that's basically in a nutshell what the production process looks like. And so that's just the production. And we're talking about the culture and the history. You know, where did it come from? How did people start drinking mezcal again? You know, is this a new thing? People say, oh, it's a new trend. But actually, mezcal has been it's a drink, it's a spirit that existed even before pre-Columbian times. The natives used to drink the fermented liquid. And so it has a lot of history. It's very rich in history. I read somewhere that in pre-Columbian times, the natives considered it a sacred drink, and it was considered the drink of the gods. So only very, very, very important people like priests, high priests, were allowed to drink it, and also pregnant women, because pregnant women were thought to be so special because they were, you know, creating birth, and we are special.
Yes, we are.
So they were allowed to drink this fermented drink that came from the agave. And so there's a lot of stories. I mean, there's a rich history behind it, why production stopped. Basically, production stopped for many years in central Mexico because of the Mexican Revolution. So when the Mexican Revolution happened, a lot of the haciendas mezcaleras where the production was happening were destroyed. And so a lot of the states in central Mexico that have denomination of origin to produce mezcal stopped production for years. Whereas in the south, like Oaxaca, the production continued. It wasn't affected. And so, yeah, there's just so much history behind it that you can see now why I fell in love with this. Me being a storyteller, I just fell in love with all of this.
Oh my goodness, yes. And I'm sure you're writing a book on this because, yeah. I mean, yeah, yeah. Of course. Yeah. Oh my goodness. And when will we see this book?
You know, hopefully, I mean, my goal is a year. I'm currently working on my first novel. I'm publishing it, which is nothing related to mezcal. But I have started actually my second book, and I started doing some of the research, and that was more of it's a nonfiction book, and it'll basically tell the story of different mujeres mezcaleras that I've come across that are chingonas and either love mezcal or in some way or another are involved in the mezcal production process, or you know, in some way in the chain of the mezcal in the mezcal world. So I started basically interviewing a few, and eventually that's the goal.
Oh my goodness. Well, someone's going to have to be interviewing you because you are a chingona of mezcal. And so you're bringing this drink of the gods to us.
Yes.
So I'm excited for you. So right now, from reading your bio, you represent a group How do you say it?
Oh, yes. So basically, so in 2019, I started a company called Mescalera Incorporated. And in being involved in the industry, I realized that it's very hard to bring a mezcal brand into the US market. If you don't have money, it is going, or contacts, it's going to be really hard. If you're a small little company, a small brand that doesn't have the money and the contacts in the state, it's going to be really, really hard. And you're either gonna have to go with the big importer and distributor who's just going to make you sign the contract where you're gonna end up with them for years, and they're not gonna do any marketing to your brand. And so the probability of your brand being a success is probably gonna be very little. And so basically and then I started creating my own brand, and I realized it's so hard. There's a lot of bureaucracy involved. So, through my experience and just being in creating a lot of connections with mezcaleros and mezcaleras in Mexico, and having the experience of being an attorney in the US and having a large network in the US, I realized I'm going to combine both, use my skills, use my contacts, leverage everything I've learned, and create a company that helps small brands of mezcal who have premium products and help them get into the US market and help them be out there. And so that's what I focus on. I try to find brands that are good products, and that don't necessarily have the financial means to make it into the market. And so I help them in coming into the US market and basically promoting them, helping them be out there. And and that's what I do basically with small brands.
Absolutely. Oh my God. And so this is La Chica Loca Mezcal. That's one of the brands, right?
Yes, La Chica Loca is one of the brands, is the very first brand that I'm working with. And I am so thrilled because I love this brand. This brand, we were actually already working together back in Mexico. We distributed it, we sold it. I used to co-own a mezcaleria in Mexico, and we sold it there, we promoted it. So it was one of my favorite brands, and it's one of my favorite brands because it just has a female essence to it. La Chica Loca alone, and the logo is a Catrina woman with the big sombrero, that's just looking up, and it just looks empowered and chingona. And one of the things that I love about this brand is that it has that female essence, and it almost feels like it's a mezcal embodied in a woman's essence, right? In a bottle that targets women. And it's also a mezcal that is it's very soft, but it's just bold at the end. And so I love that. It's very similar to what strong women are. We could be soft, but when need be, we're bold, and we just, it hits good in your palate. And
yeah,
so, I love it.
I was just gonna say, okay, just like you. Right?
Like us, yes.
Yes. I love that. Okay, so we're doing La Chica Loca Mezcal, but I know that there is some dream of you starting something for that is only women. And so I'd love for you to share this with us, because I am already ready and prepared to invest.
Oh, awesome. Yay. I do, I have a vision. So in my travels throughout Mexico, different parts of Mexico, thanks to Mezcal taking me to different, very rural regions, from all the way from Yucatan to as far north as San Luis Potosí, I came across women who are in the industry, but it's still a male dominated industry. And I had experiences. For instance, once I was trying to help one of the brands make it into the market when I was still relying on other people to do this for us. And I met a man who straight up would not meet with me. I showed up to the meeting, and my then partner, who was male, was going to come with me, but he couldn't make it. And so I ended up going to this meeting alone, and the man saw me get there, and he's like, "Where's your husband?" And I was like, "Oh, he couldn't make it." He's like, "Well, sorry, there's no meeting. I don't do business with women." And so it just made me realize, coming from a male dominated industry, which is the law, I was like, okay, here we go again. It's just another barrier that we women have to will come across on a daily. And so, eventually I just realized, there's so much potential. There's a lot of really smart, empowered women out there in this industry and in many industries. And, my dream is to create a brand that is made by women, maestras mezcaleras involved. It has a female essence, female investors. It's promoted by women. It's imported, distributed by women. Anywhere from like the production process all the way to the commercializing process have women involved, and also give back to the community, give back to women. A lot of these maestras mezcaleras who are making this wonderful drink, they come from very humble beginnings, and they have children. And an idea would be that the proceeds from this project can go back to those communities to help these women and their children. So that's kind of like what I have in mind. And it's obviously a project that it's been simmering in my mind, and I need to get to it, but I have so much going on right now that I'm like, okay, I can't only do so much, but I do. That's one of my projects in the future.
Well, I'm excited for that because, like I said, I'm like, sign me up.
Great.
Sign me up. Yes, and I'm sure there's a lot of amigas out there who would be interested. Believe me, you're the second person that I have here on my podcast that is in the spirits industry, and I'm so enamored by it. And both of you have shared stories of how it's such a male dominated field and all the hoops that you have to go through. But the passion carries both of you through. That love, the story behind it. I think your love story for this mezcal is going to definitely carry you and just continue the trajectory and build a legacy with that. Okay. And you will. I can see it. I know it. I feel it. Energetically, I see so much. I see so much. And I'm so excited for you, Adriana, and everything you're doing. And then your books. I mean, come on. I'm like, no wonder you're saying that you can't, you have so much on your plate. But in my heart, I feel like this should be a priority. Let's put it in the books. Let's put a deadline so that it can start, right?
Yes, we can at least start getting together with the potential women involved in the project. Absolutely. And I have been very lucky that a few women have approached me. So, it's definitely I'm going to put a date to it where we can all meet and start talking about it. So I'll give you the date.
Yeah. You heard it here on Amiga Handle Your Shit podcast, amigas. Yes. So as we're winding down our conversation, I always ask amigas that are here with me what they believe, how an amiga can handle her shit. Like if she can share 1 or 2 tips would be amazing. Because girl, you've been handling it and it's been going on for a long ass time.
Yes. Jackie, it starts from within. Everything that we are starts from within. And this comes from my coach. I had to hire a coach at one point. And I remember my coach told me, if you are not healed in the inside, that is going to reflect in your career, in your business, in your relationships, in your relationship with yourself, in your health. And, when he said that to me, it was like an eye-opening moment. And I realized he's right. We come from a culture that is beautiful, but also has a lot of toxicity in it. And we, as women, we grow up feeling limited, feeling afraid, feeling like we are only meant to do one thing, like we have to be moms or wives and we cannot do anything other than that. And, we just grow up with this mentality. And when you finally heal all this within you, you start realizing, man, I can be anything I want to be. Yes, it's going to be a lot of work, but who says I cannot do it? And you start really living outside of the box. But it really starts with handling you within. Go inside and heal it all. Heal yourself, and that's going to reflect beautifully in all areas. And I am a living, I guess, example of that. You know, I feel like up until the moment when I decided to just make that trip to Mexico, I was still living in that one box. You know, I can only be a lawyer and that's it. And I cannot do anything else. And it was scary. But when I finally decided to take that leap of faith and start my journey, things changed for me. And I've been doing this now for 7 years, and it has been such an amazing journey. And in the process, I found, you know, my healing, and I've done a lot of healing and a lot of self-work. And that's how I've managed to handle my shit, basically. And
Yeah.
that's the advice I have. Women, go within, fix all the issues that we grow up with, that is not our fault. Learn and unlearn everything that you must, and trust me, you will be able to do anything you want.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Amen. Amen, sister. I completely agree with you. I think oftentimes women are scared to go deep. And so they keep conversations very surface, as opposed to really healing what's inside, because, you know, we're going to keep repeating everything. And it's not until you really look in the mirror and really trust yourself and say, I love you no matter what, we're in it together.
Absolutely.
And we're going to heal together. And I mean, that's like being our best selves. Like, I mean, I believe in God. And so I feel like, shit, you know, there's so much, like, we're so limited in our spaces. Like, you know, the universe has so much for us.
Absolutely.
Right?
Abundance
Beyond abundance. And it's incredible. And when you learn and do the healing, wow, it's like blast off. Like, you know, it's just like a skyrocket, right? I mean, you did it, and you're like blossoming, and you're moving and shaking and making changes, making epic changes that align with your deeper self.
Absolutely.
The love for Mezcal is going to transcend borders. You are bringing your love of Mezcal to this country, and possibly in more than this country, like in Europe, everywhere.
That's the goal, to take it to the world.
That's right. And that's possible because you healed yourself first.
Yes.
You said yes to yourself.
I did.
I did. I'm going to cry just thinking about this. Well, I love this conversation, Amiga, and we're definitely going to have you again. But next time it's going to be when you file those incorporated docs for your business, your women business in Mezcal.
Yes, absolutely. We'll be talking about, hey, remember where the idea was started, and we were talking.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely. It'll definitely happen. Well, my love, thank you so much for being here at Amiga Handle Your Shit podcast.
Thank you for having me, Jackie. Have a beautiful day, and I look forward to just continuing to grow together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ditto, my love.
Take care.
You too.